Ta-da! Welcome to Josef's Hi-Fi, my pursuit for sumptuous sound. Welcome to video number 5. We're now going to be talking about power and cables at the end of the day, what I used. And just a general talk. We won't get into exact specifics and all the rest, but just a few things I really do want to share with you. One thing that really frustrates me, and perhaps it's just my OCD in this, not that I'm an OCD person, but just one thing where I get a little frustrated with has got to be sloppy cable management. There's so many of you that have systems that I drool over and can only wish that I actually had. And I can't help but feel that it's let down just by the way the cables are organized at the back, particularly where they're exposed racks and they just all get plopped together. I obviously do data cabling as well as part of my business, and just general good cable management is something I really do appreciate. Good strain relief on all the connections and the like. It goes without saying, there's nothing worse than seeing a high-end PS audio setup or Macintosh amplifier, something that's probably in the vicinity of $50,000 or more, and to just see when they're shooting the video is just an orgy of snakes behind the setup there really frustrates me. Needless to say though, each to their own. I do like clean, organized, segregated cables. That's just pretty much how I like to see things. Here are just a few examples. In my bedroom, just a stock standard sound base with a TV. You can see, even though there's obviously multiple inputs and power feeds up there, one continuous snake just coming straight down. And likewise, whether it be my TV antenna cabling, the distribution in the house, or indeed the data cabling that comes in. All the cables have been combed as they came through. And I think it just looks good and does make, in the future, should we need to fault find or troubleshoot, just that little bit easier. So, yeah. Needless to say though, just on the power, really quickly. So what I did, only because I pulled it out of a job a few years ago, I have this power filter or polarity filter. It was obviously out of a data cabinet. I hung on to it. It's been in storage for many, many years, and I've never ended up using it, but when we were unpacking in this house, I spotted it and I said, I might just put this in. I can't see it's really going to hurt, but we should start from the beginning. There is a dedicated circuit that's coming in. We do have 3-phase power onto this property and into the house. Now, the other 2 phases are certainly servicing the rest of the house, whether it be the HVAC system, ovens, lights, all the other domestic power that we certainly do need to run this. But we have another phase that is dedicated with its own circuit to provide the power to the system. In the shed, of course, another sub-distribution board, obviously, that's feeding all the solar back through and all the rest of it. But the whole idea is to just basically have nothing else interrupting my power feed to this. It's as simple as that. There's no other anything connected. We are just focused here at the moment. So from there, coming out of the holes in the wall, we go down to that polarity filter, and then from there we split. So obviously we have things that are running here in Australia, and those things accordingly are plugged in just to that point. But things like when I did come across this amplifier, this is a US model, and as a result, what happens is I do use voltage converters for other things, but I thought just in this situation I'm going to use both a voltage converter / conditioner, and as a result I just get a slightly more stable signal. There's some pros and cons that go with that, but all in all, nothing that's going to diminish the sound or anything like that. So just an extra layer of protection as well, considering that natively we're not where this device was intended to be used. So we keep the power clean that way. It's then split up accordingly and sent to the appropriate devices. I would in the future like to be upgrading to a Kukuzi rack-mounted power conditioning system, as used by, of course, Angus, the AC/DC rig, to get the tones just right on the guitar, where we can tune in exactly our voltage right down to the second decimal point. Just to really run it at the exact point we need, I think would be a smart move, and that's a realistic upgrade I'll look at in the future. Needless to say though, just moving straight over now to just the cables and interconnects, everything I use is Mogami cable for all my interconnects. Always have. Obviously I use it in the entertainment business. I trust it. You know, you've got names like Pabs Boothroyd, front of house engineer for AC/DC, swears by Mogami cable, knowing that when they put that stuff down, they never have to bat an eyelid that there's going to be a bad cable. But then of course you've got the musicians, the likes of Pete Frampton, Slash, Geezer Butler, even producers. Can't quite recall the name now, but the number one song, most viewed song in 2020, which is when we're making this video, Despacito, Justin Bieber. Needless to say, Mogami. And not just on that, is that there's a statement that pretty much most of the music we've heard in the past few decades, the studios have used Mogami cable. And my logic is quite simply that if it's good enough to come from the instrument through into the mixing console, and then they produce it, master it, and out it comes to the rest of the people, and we put it on, if it's good enough for the studio, it's clearly good enough for this side of the setup. So I think it's a real bang for the bucks product. I think the cable is well priced, and it is good. I'm very happy. Again, when it comes to the connectors, it's always going to be either Neutrik or Nakamichis, which I'm using Nakamichis to do the speaker connections. The rest are all Neutrik connectors, and or they are the actual Mogami connectors from the get-go if they're a pre-packaged product such as this. But even just really briefly, so obviously we've got your standard sort of RCA type cables. This one I had custom made for a cassette deck. If I end up going that way, I nearly ended up with a Nakamichi Dragon. I'm probably going to move down to a different model, but that's something in the future. Anyway, that didn't come to fruition, but as you can see, it's Mogami cable that I've had custom made for an in and an out, basically. And also I just wanted to take a quick mention on these I had made. Mogami cable again, these are interconnects for Turntable. And not that there's anything really that special about it, other than when I was having them made, I said to them, look, the ground cable, which, you know, generally we just use anything and it's acceptable. I said, can we strip some out of a Mogami cable and we'll use that as well. So it's completely 100% Mogami end to end. And I just think they're absolutely fantastic. I can't see any reason I could possibly go wrong. So I've stuck with the theory. And again, in the entertainment business that we do, and when I'm out DJing, I just trust the entire sound on Mogami cables. Never been let down once. In this next video, you're going to see some footage here of the speaker cables. Now, where indeed these are Mogami 2921 quad cables. Now, there's certainly more than enough copper to get good quality signal down the line. But the other reason was I did want something that had that sort of thicker, heavier look without going for something as over the top as carpet pythons. Just looking for something that really gave that real sort of serious look to the system. Even though the room, of course, looks wonderful, I do appreciate a suitable cable that matches the speaker and the setup I'm going for. I think we can all agree you can use something much, much thinner and could be even more discreet. But it really just brings home the concept of what we do with our live sound setups and the rest into this sort of environment that just really gives it that real through and through rock and roll. It's got that big sort of look and big sort of sound. I think that's probably a little bit a misconception, but at the end of the day, I certainly never went to an AC/DC concert expecting a whole bunch of small pencil line arrays. I expected a big system and big sound. Of course, we can achieve that from a smaller system, but it's the iconic look. There's sort of an expectation, and if we're going to have a large amplifier and large speakers, then why wouldn't I have large cable? I think it's a fantastic thing. Needless to say, that's going to wrap us up now on cables and power. We're going to move on to the next video, which will be all about the amplifier. In the meantime, I hope you're enjoying the videos. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one.